Welcome to Healer Within, a space for those drawn to the deeper layers of consciousness, where healing is not just a technique, but a revelation. I'm Amy Marohn, spiritual hypnotherapist and author of Whispers Beyond the Veil, channel teachings inspired by the spirit world. Today, we explore a question that reshapes the very foundation of personal transformation. What lies beyond the limits of the mind? This episode is titled Spiritual Hypnotherapy versus Mainstream Hypnosis, Awakening the Soul Beyond the Mind. If you've ever sensed that true healing asks for more than just behavioral change, that it asks for a level of surrender, then this conversation was meant for you. There is a profound difference between guiding the mind and awakening the soul. Mainstream hypnosis often works at a more surface level, changing habits, softening fears, and redirecting thought patterns. It's a useful and practical modality, yet spiritual hypnotherapy begins where all methods end, in the silence. In Whispers Beyond the Veil, I wrote that knowledge belongs to the mind, but wisdom is born of surrender. The intellect can name, analyze, and order experience, but only the soul can interpret its meaning. Healing happens when we release control and allow spirit to show us what the mind cannot see. It is less about correction and more about revelation. Much of human identity is constructed from pain, shaped by what I call the architecture of suffering. Loss, disappointment, and fear become the scaffolding around which the self forms. Without realizing it, we begin to look at life through the lens of our wounds. Mainstream hypnosis might try to change the behavior born of that pain, but spiritual hypnotherapy asks instead, why is the pain necessary? It recognizes pain not as a punishment, but as an invitation to higher consciousness. When we stop fortifying the walls built around our pain and begin to hear what it came to teach us, we enter a sacred space. The wisdom of our human experience is precious, yet incomplete without the spiritual context that reveals its design. The human mind is brilliant, a brilliant interpreter, but a limited creator. It organizes the known, but it cannot perceive the infinite. Transformation asks us to empty the mind of its certainty, to enter the luminous state of not knowing. This is where wisdom begins to breathe. In spiritual hypnotherapy, I invite clients into that quiet threshold to rest in awareness itself. Spirit speaks not through analysis, but through presence. Insight comes as sensation, as subtle recognition, as a truth that requires no argument. Healing emerges not because something is added, but because something false dissolves. Central to this work is a concept called sitting in the power. a mystical meditation that strengthens the light of the soul and heightens sensitivity to spirit. Unlike traditional meditation, which seeks to quiet thoughts, sitting in the power awakens the inner radiance that already knows the power of silence. In this sacred stillness, the field of awareness expands. Clients often describe feeling more centered, grounded, and infinite. Healing unfolds without effort as the soul naturally reorganizes itself toward balance, harmony, and truth. Transformation arises from awareness, not willpower. One of the teachings from Whispers Beyond the Veil that continues to evolve in my work is the concept of reaction versus resilience. Reaction is the echo of old pain, the body remembering what the heart has not yet healed. Resilience, by contrast, is consciousness embodied. It is the ability to stay rooted in love even when life trembles all around us. Through spiritual hypnotherapy, we trace reactions back to their origins, to ancestral stories, to soul agreements, to patterns carried quietly through lifetimes. Awareness releases the repetition. Resilience takes form. And we begin to move through life differently, not as victims of our emotions, but as translators of their wisdom. True change arises not from the mind's scaffolding, but from the soul's architecture. The mind seeks solutions, but the soul seeks meaning. Without meaning, healing becomes mechanical, progress without any depth. Through spiritual hypnotherapy, we begin to see that every difficulty carries design, every wound hides an instruction. Healing is not the removal of pain, it is the remembering of who we are beyond it. When clients understand this truth, their entire relationship with suffering changes. They no longer identify as the wound, but as the consciousness that witnesses it. From that recognition, peace begins to emerge. Wisdom is not born from certainty. It matures through the courage to sit with mystery. Spiritual hypnotherapy teaches us to release control and to dwell in the unknowing and to trust that spirit's intelligence is always at work, even when unseen. And as we do, life begins to feel orchestrated by something much greater than thought. We align with the deeper rhythm of being. Authenticity ceases to be an effort, but rather our natural state. Wisdom never shouts. It hums quietly through awareness. It is the still current beneath every question, waiting for space to move. Spiritual hypnotherapy is not about fixing, it's about remembering the soul's coherence, the divine intelligence that guides us, and the peace deeply rooted within us. When we release the architecture of pain and allow spirit to reveal what lies beneath, knowledge then becomes wisdom, and life becomes a partnership, a conscious dance between our divine and human essence. Peace, my friends, is not something we must earn. It is what remains when the noise of striving fades. If this exploration speaks to you, I invite you to read Whispers Beyond the Veil, channeled teachings inspired by the spirit world. You can find it on Amazon or through my website, sensoriumhypnosis.com, where you will also discover a library of spiritual blogs under the Resources tab, writings devoted to consciousness, healing, and the language of the soul. And if you'd like to continue this journey, join me on YouTube under Amy Marohn, Spiritual Hypnosis and Soul Healing, for teachings and reflections designed to help you deepen your connection to the unseen dimensions of awareness. Thank you all for listening to The Healer Within. May you rest in your own stillness, listen to the intelligence within it, and remember, healing is a soul remembering itself.